everyone, and I am back to continue reading with you Carl Rogers on Becoming a Person. And we had left off, I believe, at being one's organism, one's experience in the middle of 103. Took a little bit of a break, and so now we're back, and I'm going to continue from there and read on to the end of this section, which is on page 106. So here we go. Being one's organism, one's experience. The thread which runs through much of the foregoing material of this chapter is that psychotherapy, at least client-centered therapy, is a process whereby man becomes his organism, without self-deception, without distortion. What does this mean? We are talking here about something at an experiential level, a phenomenon which is not easily put into words and which, if apprehended only at the verbal level, is by that very fact already distorted. Perhaps if we use several sorts of descriptive formulations, it may ring some bell, however faint, in the reader's experience and cause him to feel, oh, now I know from my own experience something of what you are talking about. Therapy seems to mean a getting back to basic sensory and visceral experience. Prior to therapy, the person is prone to ask himself, often unwittingly, what do others think I should do in this situation? What would my parents or my culture want me to do? What do I think ought to be done? He is thus continually acting in terms of the form which should be imposed upon his behavior. This does not necessarily mean that he always acts in accord with the opinions of others. He may indeed endeavor to act so as to contradict the expectations of others. He is nevertheless acting in terms of the expectations, often introjected expectations of others. During the process of therapy, the individual comes to ask himself in regard to ever-widening areas of his lifespan, how do I experience this? What does it mean to me? If I behave in a certain way, how do I symbolize the meaning of what will have for me, of what meaning which it will have for me? He comes to act on a basis of what may be termed realism, a realistic balancing of the satisfactions and dissatisfactions which any action will bring to himself. Perhaps it will assist those who, like myself, tend to think in concrete and clinical terms. If I put some of these ideas into schematized formulations of the process through which various clients go, for one client, this may mean I have thought I must feel only love for my parents, but I find that I experience both love and bitter resentment. Perhaps I can be that person who freely experiences both love and resentment. For another client, the learning may be, I have thought that I was only bad and worthless. Now I experience myself at times as one of much worth, at other times as one of little worth or usefulness. Perhaps I can be a person who experiences varying degrees of worth. For another, I have held the conception that no one could really love me for myself. Now I experience the affectional warmth of another for me. Perhaps I can be a person who is lovable by others. Perhaps I am such a person. For still another, I have been brought up to feel that I must not appreciate myself, but I do. I can cry for myself, but I can enjoy myself too. Perhaps I am a richly varied person who can enjoy and for whom I can feel sorry. Or, to take the last example from Mrs. Oak, I have thought that in some deep way I was bad, and that the most basic elements in me must be dire and awful. I don't experience that badness, but rather a positive desire to live and let live. Perhaps I can be that person who is, at heart, positive. What is it that makes possible What is it that makes possible anything but the first sentence of each of these formulations? It is the addition of awareness. In therapy, the person adds to ordinary experience the full and untorted awareness of his experiencing, of his sensory and visceral reactions. He ceases, or at least decreases, the distortions of experience and awareness. He can be aware of what he is actually experiencing, not simply what he can permit himself to experience after a thorough screening through a conceptual filter. In this sense, the person becomes, for the first time, the full potential of the human organism, which the enriching element of awareness freely added to the basic aspect of sensory and visceral reaction. The person comes to be what he is, as clients so frequently say in therapy. What this seems to mean is that the individual comes to be, in awareness, what he is in experience. He is, in other words, a complete and fully functioning human organism. Already I can sense the reactions of some of my readers. Do you mean that as a result of therapy, man becomes nothing but a human organism, a human animal? Who will control him? Who will socialize him? How will he then throw over all inhibitions? Have you merely released the beast, the id, in man? To which the most adequate reply seems to be, in therapy, the individual is actually becoming a human organism, with all the richness that implies. He is realistically able to control himself, and he is incorrigibly socialized in his desires. There is no beast in man. There is only man in man. And this we have been able to release. So the basic discovery of psychotherapy seems to me, in our observations, have any validity, that we do not need to be afraid of being merely homo sapiens. It is the discovery that if we add to the sensory and visceral experiencing, which is characteristic of the whole animal kingdom, the gift of a free and undistorted awareness, of which only human animal seems fully capable, we have an organism which is beautifully and constructively realistic. We have then an organism which is aware of the demands of the culture as it is its own physiological demands for food or sex, which is just as aware of its desire for friendly relationships as it is of its desire to aggrandize itself, which is just as aware of its delicate and sensitive tenderness toward others as it is of its hostility towards others. When a man's unique capacity of awareness is thus functioning freely and fully, we find that we have not an animal whom we must fear, but a beast, not a beast who must be controlled, but an organism able to achieve, through the remarkable integrative capacity of its central nervous system, a balanced, realistic, self-enhancing, other-enhancing behavior as resultant of all of these elements of awareness. To put it another way, when man is less than fully man, when he denies to awareness various various aspects of his experience, then indeed we have all too often reason to fear him and his behavior, as the present world situation testifies. But when he is most fully man, when he is his complete organism, when awareness of experience, that particularly human attribute, is most fully operating, then he is to be trusted and his behavior is constructive. It is not always conventional. It will not always be conforming. It will be individualized, but it also will be socialized. A concluding comment. I have stated the preceding section as strongly as I am able to because it represents a deep conviction growing out of many years of experience. I am quite aware, however, of the difference between conviction and truth. I do not ask anyone to agree with my experience, but only to consider whether the formulation given here agrees with his own experience. Nor do I apologize for the speculative character of this paper. There is time for speculation and time for sifting of evidence. It is to be hoped that gradually some of the speculations and opinions and clinical hunches of this paper may be put to operational and definitive test. End of reading for today. And next time, we will start with chapter 6 on page 107, what it means to become a person. So have a wonderful day. Happy Valentine's to all who celebrate. We love you all so much and have a great day.